Well, 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 will ye miracles ever cease? It certainly does appear that the cooperation is being given to us by the technology. Seems like the camera's working, seems like the program is working. And it is an incredible amount of happiness. And as you can see by the shaky camera work and the weird squeaky sounds, that Harry the cat is in the house for a 100% on-time episode of ANTiSEEN Tunes. Yes, and you can see the tail of Harry the cat on the lens. Come on over here, sonny boy. You're going to be the scene hog anyway, so you might as well face front and let the people know you're here and let everybody see ya. I'm going to reach on over to my computerized monitor and make sure that I am indeed live and streaming, as I hope I am. Things are moving a little bit slowly today in internet land. I don't know why it is. The mainframe computer's working kind of slow. The cell phone's working kind of slow. But oddly enough, it does appear to be working. Hey, Allin Versapellis is tuned in. I see an icon saying that I'm live and that 5 people are watching, so I guess it's really happening. And of course, Harry is here right from the get-go. Dan Ductor, welcome aboard, Dan, and happy holidays right to you. Happy holidays to everybody out there who celebrates holidays this time of year. And if you celebrate a holiday any time of year, happy to you. May it be a happy, holly, jolly, ho, 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 and all that good stuff. Harry's happy. For this guy, every day is a holiday. All he has to do is lay around and sit on the sofa, wait for me to come around with a dish of food periodically. Get the brush, get the brushing, get the stroking, get the chin rub. Man, anybody who said it's a dog's life never met this guy. All he has to do is hang out and wait for the next perk. Vaughn, none of your damn business. Welcome aboard. Nick Sampson. Hello, Nick. Good to have you guys on here. I'm amazed you guys are able to pay any attention to me whatsoever when you got a scene stealer like this. All right, dude. Hello, Schwan Morsha. Schwan, what's up, Schwan? Hey, Schwan. I get your CD in the mail coming to you soon. Don't you worry about nothing. We're going to get that thing in the mail to you. Dan Ductor, Mr. Pookie, the black cat of Dan Ductor, says, hey, we know, Dan, if you're going to talk about the cat, you have to post a picture of the cat. I think that's just a common courtesy, don't you? Got my jug of Danbury Tap Water here for all of you folks, keeping me hydrated and well lubricated while we do some talking of the tunes. Yeah. Normally I would be checking the mailbox and checking the bulletin board, but man, I've got so much to talk about today. Today is my 2023 in review, both as myself, Malcolm Tent, the rock and roller, and as the label mogul for TPOS. 2023 has been a big old year, a banner year, if you will. So much going on. It's not even funny. And, that's the way I like it. That's the way I like it. March of next year is going to mark the 40th anniversary of TPOS as a label, which is really an incredible thought to cross my mind. It's like, I'm fond of telling the tale of how the label got started, and I have done at least one episode of Tent Talks Tunes about the formation of TPOS Records. If you go onto my YouTube channel, which you may want to subscribe to if you haven't yet, I honestly don't know what it means when you subscribe to a channel. Like, I subscribe to a few channels, and it doesn't seem to make any difference whatsoever. If I want to find something on YouTube by one of my favorite channels, I go on YouTube and look it up. I subscribe to all these channels, but it doesn't seem to do anything. But hey, whatever. The common consensus is that you must subscribe to the YouTube channel if you got one. So, okay. Help a brother out. Subscribe to his YouTube channel, why don't ya? Yeah. And in doing so, you can find the episode dedicated to the formation of TPOS Records, which is almost exactly 40 years ago. But long story short, I was a denizen of South Florida. Let me see, was I 20 years old yet? Not yet 20, I was still 19. 19 years old, had just formed a band, and really the only logical thing to do when you form a band, and especially when you want to try to get gigs, is to put out a record, right? It makes it a lot easier when you're making the rounds from club to club to say, hi, we're a band, we want a gig, this is our record. You know, it gives you a little bit more swing, a little more stroke when you're dealing with club owners and booking agents, something like that. So just as a sheer matter of practicality, and just because we had the means to do it, we put out a record. And since a record label needs a name, we called ours TPOS. The first record we ever did was Broken Talent, my band at the time. And we labeled it TPOS number 001. And Dan Ductor has sent me a personal message of his kitty cat's photo. That is a lovely black cat you got there, Dan. Thank you very much. Yay, black cats. We named it 001 because SST labeled and numbered all of their releases, starting with 001. They always had a 3-digit catalog number, you know, which I loved because that signified a definite intent to release a lot of records. You know, you got to fill those zeros up. You got to go from 001 to 010, finally all the way up to 099, and then you've got 100, and then 101, etc., etc., etc. Greg Lathrop, I don't know how to pronounce your last name, Greg, but welcome aboard. Good to have you here. So yeah, we just kind of had the same thing. Like, I never, ever consciously decided that I was going to release a certain number of records on TPOS, but just starting out with 001, I kind of viewed it as like a challenge and a fun thing. It's like, let's see how many we can do. I never, ever had any kind of long-term plan or any kind of long-term goal. I just figured I would start releasing records and just keep going. Now, Sean Moshers asked Greg says Lathrop. Thank you, Greg, for the pronunciation lesson here on Tent Talks Tunes. We are linguistically correct as often as we possibly can here. Sean Mosher has asked a very legitimate question. How many releases are on TPOS now? Well, I'm glad you asked, because I don't know. But that's why I write these things down. And so if you guys bear with me for a second, I'm going to reach over to this. Check out this arcane object. You guys are going to love this. Check this out. This, my friends, some of you old school people might know what this is. This is a clipboard. This is a clipboard, and it's got lots of paper on it. And this is actually my key organizing tool for TPOS. Everything I've got going on currently for TPOS is, you know, of course it's on the computer, and of course it's, you know, on the hard drive or whatever it is. But the real heart of TPOS lies right here on this clipboard. This has all of my notes on upcoming projects. As you can see right there on the very front, it has a CD. Now this CD is for TPOS number 147. And having it there on the clipboard is my reminder that I need to do some liner notes for this and gather materials so I'll be able to release this. This is a project that's been in the works for a very long time. This is my own collection of song poem records. Oh yes, song poem records. And you guys have heard me talk about song poems and the wonderful, wild world of song poem records quite a bit on Tent Talks Tunes. And just in case y'all don't know what I'm talking about, get your research gloves on and look up MSR Madness. That is MSR Madness. Look it up, and you'll see where I'm coming from. I have made my own anthology of MSR Madness type records, which will be coming out on TPOS somewhere down the line. And that's basically how I've done it since day one. I'll get an idea, I'll start putting it together, and over time, as the inspiration and the motivation comes, I'll just keep chipping away at it and pecking away at it, and eventually it'll get done, and I'll release it. I can hardly honestly think of one single release I've ever done that ever had a specific etched in stone release date. Actually, I had one. And it ended in disaster. I was going to release a record for Halloween 1992, I think it was. And, of course, due to all the vagaries involved in pressing, manufacturing, and shipping, the record was not done by Halloween 1992, and it kind of died on the vine because of that. But that was the only time I ever did it. And there is one coming up, which I'll talk about a little bit later, but it's not really something that's in my control. So it's always just been kind of like, yeah, wherever, whenever, I'll get it finished when I get it finished, and when everything's perfect, and when the stars align and the moon is in the right phase, it'll come out. So this disc has been clipped to my clipboard for quite a while. So to answer Sean Mosher's question, I'm going to look at the clipboard, which has all these various notes on it, and which also has printed out on paper a running list of every single TPOS release ever, along with their release dates and various notes. And this is the ultimate sheet of it. This is the sheet in progress, and it reveals that we are up to TPOS number 257, 257 releases on TPOS. And I'll be talking about a few of them today as I do the end-of-year roundup. And in fact, I'm glad you prompted me to do this, because this will help me refresh my memory about a thing or two. 250 of these things. 257 of these things. Let's drink a swig of Danbury Tap, or whatever it is you're drinking, to that. 40 years in the business, 257 releases. That's just a little bit more than 6 a year when you average it out. That's pretty good. That's not a bad average at all, I think. Especially considering that when I started this label, I had no idea what I was doing. No plan, certainly no business plan or anything like that. It was just something for a bored teenager in South Florida to do. So I did it. 257. Vaughn says that Tom Ardolino was a known collector of song poems. Yes, Tom Ardolino, the late great drummer of NRBQ. He put out the very first anthology of song poem records, and he called it, if not right then and there, but later down the line, MSR Madness. His album was called Beat of the Traps. And to this day, it's one of those records that is just monumental. That's one of those albums that is a permanent part of my collection. It is never going to be out of my collection. It blew my mind. It still blows my mind. All of the MSR Madness comps completely turn my head around every single time I listen to them. And so I can only hope that my humble version, which I call Song Poem Insanity, as a direct tip to MSR Madness, I only hope that Song Poem Insanity will add something to the body of work of these great song poem collections. So, I sort of have an idea that maybe it'll come out in 2024. We'll see. We'll see. Hello, Jenny DeSoto, my birthday buddy in New Jersey. How's it going, Jenny? Jenny and I share the same birthday, September 23rd. You know what that means? We're both well-balanced Libras, and we're both very classy people. To you, Jenny DeSoto. I hope you're doing well. So yeah, what's come out in 2023 on TPOS? I mean, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about lots of live shows and rampant creativity I've done. And everything kind of ties in with everything else. We're just going to get a whole lot of gum flapping and lip moving about what 2023 has meant to me. And I'm just going to reach on over to this pile of stuff I got sitting here to stage right, and I'm going to start grabbing releases. Here, check this out. Any of you guys recognize this guy? Does that charming, charismatic face with the very interesting backdrop mean anything to you people out there? Y'all ever seen this guy before? I am here to tell you, in case you didn't know or didn't guess, that that is a guy named Devo. His name is Devo. And Devo, Dan Ductor, Hail Bop was his comment. And yes, Sean Mosher, Heaven's Gate. As you guys know, if you're followers of the TPOS label, I have had a lifelong fascination with the outside, the weird, the incredible, the bizarre, especially when music is the result. And Heaven's Gate is a slight exception to that rule, because Heaven's Gate didn't do music. Part of the Heaven's Gate suicide cult philosophy was no music. No music. No music. But boy, did they talk a lot. Boy, did this guy Devo, he talked a lot. He talked for years and years and years to his followers. And there's plenty of really weird-ass videos of him sitting in front of this weird-ass backdrop, a literal talking head, just going on and on and on and on and on about how planet Earth is about to be recycled, and your last chance to get on board the Hale-Bopp comet is coming up soon, and if you don't get on that comet, they're going to spade over planet Earth, and you're going to be fucked. So, yeah, they all committed suicide, and I don't know, did they make it to the comet? I don't know. Maybe they are up there floating around on that comet. I don't know. I'm just stuck here on the med ball. Down here on the mud ball. I only know that they haven't spaded the planet over yet. It still hasn't been recycled like Heaven's Gate said it was going to be. Which is great, because it leaves those of us left behind to listen to some of the many, many, many recordings of Devo from Heaven's Gate. And I released a cassette by Heaven's Gate called Planet Earth About to Be Recycled, which was the ultimate statement on Heaven's Gate's mission to latch onto the Hale-Bopp comet and fly away before the planet Earth was recycled. And because of that, this is like one of the wonderful things of running a record label and doing music and being creative, is that once people know you're interested in something specific, a lot of times they'll come forward and say, hey man, I saw you did that Heaven's Gate thing. I got some Heaven's Gate stuff too. Maybe you'd like to check it out. And one of my friends a few years back sent me an incredible treasure trove of Heaven's Gate recorded lectures. I mean, probably 200, 300 hours of this stuff. And all of these lectures were meant strictly for classroom use by the Heaven's Gate members. So a lot of them are really dry. A lot of them are really not that interesting to the layperson, because they sort of like rehash a lot of the similar familiar topics, speaking the language that's from inside the cult. So if you don't understand the language, it gets really boring after a while. But this one lecture here called Intro to the Final Chapter was actually really interesting, because Devo goes into a lot of the key concepts of Heaven's Gate and lays them out in a pretty straightforward manner. And the recording quality is really good. And to the best of my knowledge, it had never really been circulated before. So what the heck, I made a cassette of it. And that came out in 2023 on TPOS. And I'm very happy with it. And if you go onto my Discogs page, you will find it there. And maybe you'll have the mix of incredulity, entertainment, and education that I get whenever I listen to Heaven's Gate classroom tapes. Endlessly fascinating stuff. Endlessly fascinating. you want to talk about good old-fashioned punk rock, a feather in my cap was the release of a bona fide, officially sanctioned, 100% legit live release by the Murder Junkies, featuring none other than Jeff Clayton on the vocals. This release is significant to me because the Jeff Clayton version of the Murder Junkies never entered the recording studio. And they only did, I think, 2 tours, maybe 3. And as is my wont, I recorded a couple of their shows, and this one came out really good. It was the last night of the 10th anniversary of Gigi's death tour in 2003 in Port Chester, New York. And I've been sitting on the tape forever, and I finally said, you know what? I've been sitting on this tape forever. Why am I sitting on it? The people need to hear it. So I reached out to the important parties in the Murder Junkies. They both gave me their blessing. And work commenced. And it came out. Limited edition of 100. And I still have a few left. Each one of them hand-numbered by the then lead singer of the Murder Junkies, Jeff Clayton. And of course, still the lead singer of ANTiSEEN, and still my boss in ANTiSEEN. He numbered every single one of these. And will there be another edition of this somewhere down the line? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe I'll feel like doing it. Maybe I won't. That's the nature of TPOS, and that's the nature of just how I do things. If I feel like doing it, I'll do it. But of course, not till I sell the first run. I think I've got like 6 or 7 of these left. And needless to say that once the first run is done, even if I do reissue it, it's not going to be numbered. I'll probably tweak the artwork a little bit. You know, I really like to continue to improve the product. I always like to rearrange and finesse the releases whenever possible. And what with the rapidly moving condition of today's digital technology, it's really possible to make improvements on the spot as they come to you. And that's what's driven a lot of my ethos in doing TPOS. For example, a whole bunch of years ago, I came across the, at the time, were extremely rare and practically unheard vintage recordings by this guy here, Aleister Crowley. And even now, you know, you would think that in the digital age, in the modern age, in the internet age, that everybody who would be interested in something like this would have heard it. But as I found out, there are still many people who were never aware that Crowley made audio recordings. And they're wonderful. They are very lo-fi. They're very atmospheric. When you hear them, you definitely feel like you're being transported to a long ago time and a long ago place, and that something is happening. You know, whether you believe in the stuff he believed in or not is kind of beside the point. It's just so evocative of a feeling. That's why I love these things. So years and years and years ago, I made a cassette version of it. And once ago, if you go on my Discogs page, I think you can see all the different versions that there have been of the cassette. And I started making cassettes back in the day of photocopiers, glue sticks, scissors, and paper. In fact, I can show you guys. See, I love having all my materials at hand. I can reach over, if you guys don't mind me reaching over. I have in one of my honest-to-gosh file folders, right over here. See, I showed you guys the clipboard. Now I'm going to show you a genuine, honest-to-gosh manila folder. This is a manila folder that contains a lot of the vintage art elements of the Aleister Crowley cassette. You open it up, and what do you find here? You find some paperwork, you find some invoices, you find forms that need signatures. Do I have in here? Okay, here's something. This is how it was done. This is the original paste-up sheet for the cassette labels. And this was done way back in the early days, probably made on a dot matrix printer. As you can look, if you look carefully, you see that every single element of the label was printed out, cut with a pair of scissors, and then glued onto a master sheet. And I would drop this in the photocopier, run off labels, and stick them on the cassette. Of course, as time has gone on and the technology has evolved, nowadays I simply print the labels directly onto the label with an inkjet printer. Actually, I'm up to LaserJet now. Oh my God, that's how advanced I am. So that's what the state of the art is now. And of course, the original insert was done in the exact same fashion. Check it out. Everything was duplicated on a photocopier, cut out by hand, glued to a piece of paper. You can see all the hand-drawn guidelines and cut marks and fold marks. All done by hand. I'd stick this in the photocopier and run them off in black and white. And what did I put this on the back of? Does anybody know who these people are? Y'all recognize these guys? I don't know who they are, but they're one page from their press kit is what I ended up recycling to make the original Aleister Crowley cassette inserts on photocopy paper. Who are these guys? Jimmy Bleacher, Pete Ravine, Kurt Mayer, and Mike Hannon. If anybody knows who these hairy fellows are, please leave a comment. I'm kind of curious. I hope they understand and appreciate the fact that their press kit was put to very good use in the original version of the Aleister Crowley cassette on TPOS. Of course, again, the state of the art has evolved, and I enjoy keeping up with the state of the art. So the current version now is actually printed on professionally made, professionally scored and folded glossy cardstock with brand new digitally laid out artwork and graphics. And as much as I love the way that those things looked 30-something years ago, I am just knocked out by the fact that I can actually do something like this. This was unheard of, even up to maybe 10, 12 years ago, to make a professionally printed J-card and, professional looking labels on these things. It's fantastic to see how the product is able to evolve if you're willing to keep up with the times. And so the cassettes did really well because there are still tons of people who never knew that Aleister Crowley recorded his own voice. And therefore I found it imperative to do a full-length 12-inch LP of it. I designed all the graphics, had the covers professionally printed, LP pressed, did the labels myself. This is DIY, kids. And part of one of the major subtexts to everything I'm saying is that you can do it yourself. You can do it. The technology now, especially the way it is, and the resources that we have at our command, we being us, you can do something like this. Obviously, it takes a lot of time. You got to be able to invest a couple of bucks into it, but it absolutely can be done. Excuse me. And just me, who still at the very heart of his being is that 19-year-old kid in suburban South Florida, is amazed that he can produce a product like this and proudly and legitimately put his brand on it. That, my friends, is cool. That is cool, and that is a lot of F-U-N fun. The common denominator for everything I release on TPOS is that it's something that I like, I enjoy, I respect, and that I could listen to on my own time. Even an album that was deliberately designed to be unlistenable. And that gets us into an area, once again, where the technology has advanced so rapidly that it now intersects with the common person. Back in the 1990s, it was inconceivable that a schlub like myself would have enough money to have a CD manufactured. Man, that stuff was expensive back in the day. Now, in this current age, it is absolutely possible to have a manufactured compact disc. And this came out in 2023, G.G. Allin's magnum opus of harsh noise and extremely unpleasant thoughts and lyrics guaranteed to offend somebody. This is an album that, if it doesn't offend you, it's going to offend your next door neighbor. If it doesn't offend them, it's going to offend the folks across the street. It's going to offend somebody. And this came out in 2023. This is another feather in the cap. As I might have mentioned before on 10 Talks Tunes, I made it my mission to track down and get the rights and the permissions to release every single spare G.G. Allin recording out there that's not already claimed by somebody else. And it took a while. It took some sweat equity to do it, but by cracky, I've done it. I got all of them. Every blessed one of them, except for one, and I'm currently working on that one. And even if I don't get the rights to that one, I think I might be able to nudge the rights owner into doing their own repress of this record that's been out of print for 30-something years. So fingers crossed on that. The point being, I'm a huge fan of the dude's work. And remember what I said at the outset of this. My specialty is the outsider, the unusual, the culturally important, whether it's pleasant or not. There's no denying that this guy is a cultural force. And so being able to release one of his lost full-length albums on an actual, honest-to-God, professionally made CD was very cool. And this came out in 2023, and it's available. Now, I've already gone through 2 pressings of this. I'm in the middle of the second printing, and one thing I am going to do on future printings is tweak that art, because I don't like the proportions of the art. I think everything on that should be bigger and more spread out. All the elements they're too small and they're too bunched in. So that's one of the first CD layouts I ever did, and I didn't really have the grip on the proportions yet. So that's a perfect example of continually improving the product. And of course, it gives the collectors something to go after, because now there's different variants, you know. And it's not too often that I will deliberately change something just for the heck of changing it. But when it serves the product better, I'll do it. Vaughn wants to know, Cedar Street Sluts? No, G.G. Allin and the Scumfucks. Which was basically him and Mark Sheehan, who were actually, from everything I've learned and understand, were like genuinely kindred spirits creatively. And they produced a lot of stuff together. And this full-length album never was issued in this form except once on cassette on the Action record label out of Boston, run by the Psycho guys. Great dudes. So working in conjunction with them and the guy who is the executor of Mark Sheehan's estate and Blood Orange Records, who are in control of the early part of Gigi's catalog, I was able to get this thing released. And I'm very happy and very proud of this. So it's on cassette. It's on CD. Vinyl is coming up next. This came out in 2023. And it's all the result of one man's obsession with one artist's work. It can be done, kids. All you got to do is chase it down. Now let's see. Dan Ductor wants to know how Danbury water compares to Fairfield agua. Well, the Fairfield water that I've sampled, and I'll swig some of this while I talk to you about it. Fairfield water, I have drunk the water of Fairfield from the tap. I've had Fairfield tap. And to me, it's about on par with unfiltered Danbury tap water. It's got the same amount of chlorine in it. It's got the same sort of acrid patina to it. But I can't imagine that the chemical residues in Fairfield tap would be identical to the chemical residues in Danbury tap. I think it'd be very interesting to get out the old spectrophotometer and run samples of each water through it and see what the spectrum reveals in terms of the chemical content of each respective municipality's water supply. So thank you for asking, Dan. I'm glad I had a chance to answer that question. And here's to you. Scott LaRock wants to know if I'm going to do another media-like print. Scott, I don't know what you mean, another media-like print. Please clarify your terminology, and I will answer your question, because that's what I do here on Tent Talks Tunes. Well, I said something about the creative aspect of things. I didn't do this, but my friend Dan Bale at Rotten Princess Records in Portland, Oregon, he ran into me when I was on tour with Profanatica, America's premier black metal band. Excuse me while I belch a little bit. I'm just a human being. That's what I do. He ran into me at Profanatica's gig in Portland, Oregon. And I'll just take a little side step here to say that the Profanatica tour that I did, which was my first ever tour with them, playing the Thunder Lumba, the bass guitar, was fun. More fun than a Beach Boys song. It was me, the guys in Profanatica, the most superb Canadian black metal fundamentalists, Panzerfaust, who were our direct support for the entire tour, and who are supremely hard-working dudes and genuinely good guys all around. We got to start in Cleveland, Ohio, and make a big counterclockwise circuit around the entire US of A, ending up in Raleigh, North Carolina. We did that in the summer of 2023, and it was a blast and a half. And I met so many great people out there, made a lot of new friends, found quite a few people who watched Tent Talks Tunes, which is extremely pleasing. And at the Profanatica show, ran into Dan Bale. I knew Dan from a small town in Michigan called Grayling. And if you all know Michigan and you know how to find your place in Michigan, Grayling's up around here somewhere. And there was a really awesome venue called Trust Fall Coffee and Records. And I believe there's still an iteration of Trust Fall up there in Grayling, run by my pal Jim Jones. Met Dan Bale there. He came to see me play some solo acoustic shows. I think he saw Ultra Bunny when we played up there. Ultra Bunny. And we renewed our acquaintance at the gig in Portland, and he said, "Hey, man, I know you got your noise project called Fried Man. Let's do a split release." And here it is. Fried Man, Boy Mouth, split release on the Rotten Princess label out of Portland, Oregon. And I'm very fond of it. My Fried Man is my noise project. It's where I do a lot of soundscapes, sound sculptures, weird noises and ambient stuff. And so I put together a thing called Uncle Saul's Phone Call, taken from an old answering machine cassette. And it's exactly what you would think it is. It's a phone call from Uncle Saul. And there were some very strange background noises on that cassette. So I took the background noises and started manipulating, came up with a really cool, weird soundscape. And Dan Bale released it. And here it is. Split CD. That came out in 2023. And that came out as a direct result of being on tour in 2023. So very, very happy with this. Very proud of the way it came out. Always want to thank Dan for doing this. And his label, Rotten Princess, is really cool. There's a lot of very strange stuff on it. Yes, I'm pretty sure I listed this on Discogs. And even if this isn't, Rotten Princess is. And, yeah, this happened in 2023. That's why I'm talking about it now in the 2023 roundup. Scott wants to know about books. Yes. Oh, yeah. We got some books coming up. Oh, yeah. TPOS is about to fully fledged enter the world of print media. And here comes Harry again. An encore for Harry the Cat. He wants more head rubs and more chin rubs. He wants me to tap his fang. He loves it when I do that. I'd probably like it if someone tapped my fang too. Who knows? Oy vey. So yes, books on the TPOS label. I've got for sure 1, 2, 3 on tap. And each one of them relates to a certain artist. That's all I'm going to say right now because, you know, we're in pure nostalgia mode right now. We'll be looking forward to 2024 soon enough. But I'm very excited about it. Very excited. One of them is in the layout stage, and the other 2 are still in the conceptual stage, but they're on the way. So all you people out there who don't know how to read, now's the opportunity for you to learn how to read, because you will want to read these 3 upcoming books on TPOS. Speaking of CDs, 2023 was another great year for music for yours truly. You've heard me talk an awful lot about the Devo fan gathering called Devotional. And I've gotten the call to perform at Devotional many times over the years. And I make it a... oh, wait, hold on a second. Did that book about wrestlers who made records ever come out? It still has not come out. I'm still being tapped. The guy who is writing it is named Royal Duncan. And Royal is from Illinois. And Royal's done at least 1 thick volume about wrestling. It's an entire history of wrestling title histories from the Carney days until whenever it was he printed it. So he's got 1 out, and the next book he's doing is a discography, a comprehensive discography of professional wrestling records. And that includes records by wrestlers, but also records about wrestlers, about wrestling, wrestling themed. I can't even imagine how gigantic this book is going to be when he finally gets it done. It's going to be ridiculous. But, you know, I get an inquiry from him every once in a while asking if I got anything new. And if I do, I send it to him. So he's still working on it. He's got a secretary helping him out. So, it, you know, signals intent. I don't know how the hell he's ever going to finish the damn thing. I mean, I would think the only way to do it is to go by volumes and do it chronologically, you know. So many records about wrestling. My God. If you guys are Facebookers, you might want to look up a friend of mine named Justin Crockett. Justin, who's a former bass player of the great band Cocknoose, who were extremely influenced by professional wrestling. On his Facebook page, he periodically posts records from his personal collection that are about wrestlers and wrestling. Fantastic stuff, man. He's dug up some shiz I have never heard of. Really cool. Anyway, as far as I know, it is happening. But the Devotional, I've been called to perform at a number of times, and I try to do something different every year. And this year I decided to do a solo thing called Punk Rock is Total Devo. And in the traditional, typical punk rock fashion, I recorded my set really quick, really easy, made a super quick, super easy CD, and there it is. That's the front, made with markers. There's the back, made also with markers. I picked, just randomly picked a bunch of songs that I thought would sound good in a punk rock idiom, with me playing an electric guitar along with a drum machine. Excuse me. And as you can see, it's a CDR. Hand-signed, hand-autographed. Absolutely punk rock, absolutely cheap and easy, quick and fun. These are available. I only sold them at the Devotional, but if I haven't put them on general release already, I will be very soon. If you want one, hit me up. I had a lot of fun putting this together, and I think it came out pretty good. I normally don't listen to my own work, but I've actually played this once or twice just because I could, and I enjoyed it. So if I actually enjoyed it, well, then it must be good. Now, also for devotional this year, we put out something a little more fancy, a little more swank than that. Oh, yeah. Remember what I was saying about how the technology has caught up with people who are DIYers like myself? For 2023's devotional, we made not only a CD with the professionally manufactured deluxe packaging and disc, but also a full-fledged, honest-to-jaw LP, a mini album on 12-inch vinyl with a deluxe gatefold sleeve. And I'll tell you, when I was 19 years old in South Florida, not in any of my wildest imagination, hallucination, prognostication, dreams, or schemes would I have ever thought that my label would reach its 246th release and that it would look this good and that it would feature performances of not only me, but 3 members of Devo, all on one exciting 12-inch platter. This is TPOS number 246. And I should mention that my punk rock is Total Devo is TPOS number 256. The Aleister Crowley LP is TPOS number 56. Murder Junkies live CD is number 245. And the Heaven's Gate is number 247. As you might have guessed, the Song Poems is number 147. That shows you just how random my release schedule is. It basically works like this. I get the idea, and once I actually start making it, I give it a TPOS catalog number, and then it comes out whenever it comes out, depending on how long it takes to get it made. So that's why I can have TPOS number 147, which hasn't come out yet, and TPOS number 246, which came out in 2023. That's what we call randomness, and simply following your muse where it goes. So yeah, man, we got Jerry Casale, David Kendrick, and Bob Lewis of Devo officially on TPOS. And that came out in 2023. And I am thrilled and chilled that it happened. Like you would not believe. CD too. It's on Discogs. Go get you some. Let me minimize this message that somebody sent me. I'll read the message later. Thank you very much. Also for Devotional 2023, showing you what a wild creative year it was. And this also shows that a lot of my creativity is focused around specific events and specific stimuli. So when Devotional 2023 is coming up, I get super motivated to do things to take out there to Cleveland to represent. And one of them was the latest installment of my Devolved record collection. And this goes right back to the true original DIY ethic of DIY homemade CDs. Jewel case front, jewel case back, CDR with a home printed laser jet label. Still looks pretty good. I think it still looks real good. And ooh, boy, that's entropy right there. Let's reach down and grab this thing. Moving very slowly and carefully so as not to disturb the sleeping cat on my lap. There's the front cover art. You can see it is a collage of Devo records. And what it is, according to my own liner notes, is the important sound of multiple Devo albums playing simultaneously and falling apart. And that's exactly what it is. It's every single copy I own of Devo's Duty Now for the Future and Oh No, It's Devo played simultaneously and aligned so that they all started at the exact same microsecond. But remember, entropy always wins. Order is nothing more than a snapshot of chaos. So you line them up so that they all start at the exact same second, microsecond even, And within a very short period of time, they start to drift apart. And the sounds that happen when that drift occurs are amazing. It sounds like an avalanche after a while. And then sometimes they coalesce back in and become more orderly again. And then they spread apart again. I mean, it's wild. There's no predicting it. A lot of fun playing that and listening to it. That happened in 2023. What else happened in 2023? Well, gee whiz. Once again, speaking from a pure fanboy point of view. Now, I didn't know about the almighty ANTiSEEN until a little bit later in the year 1984. I was still 19 years old. But my band, Broken Talent, went on our first ever tour. And we crossed paths with ANTiSEEN at a gig in Columbia, South Carolina. And when that happened, excuse me, fan for life. And so I went from fan to friend to almost 5 years ago, full-fledged member of ANTiSEEN. And over the years, I've gotten to release a few ANTiSEEN things. And that culminated with TPOS number 250, which also came out in the year 2023. And that was the ANTiSEEN People's Choice album, which has also now manifested itself as complete DIY CD. Haven't done cassette yet. I don't know if we ever will, but this is where it stands right now. Number 250. We debuted these at the ANTiSEEN 40th anniversary concert back at the end of September. It was a Botho event. I, as you probably know, have always been a fan of the vintage bootleg albums of the 1970s, and this is a complete homage to that aesthetic. 100% bootleg, rubber stamps, stickers, plain white jackets, all the information on a printed sheet of paper. We did this deliberately. This was an absolute nod to bootleg albums of the 70s, all the way down to us completely appropriating the trademark of quality label artwork, which we, of course, called Trademark of Destructo. And I am, as with just about everything I've ever done on TPOS, delighted with the way it came out. And this happened in 2023. You see what I'm talking about? I've been here on Tent Talks Tunes for almost an hour now. And I'm not even quite done yet. I still got a few more things to go. This all happened in 2023. And I, knowing me, I'm probably missing a few. But hey, what are you going to do? Gives me something to talk about later. ANTiSEEN also released their most recent album. This is not on my label. This is on a label called Jackhammer Music from Japan. They have an American office in the U.S. based in Mobile, Alabama. Check them out. But the latest ANTiSEEN full-length album, Great Disasters, came out in 2023. It's the first ANTiSEEN album that I have contributed to as a full member. I wrote some of the lyrics. I helped with some of the arrangement. I played on every song. Front cover, back cover, authentic Japanese obi. Once again, deluxe gatefold sleeve. Look at that. Made in Japan. Absolute thrill and an honor. This happened in 2023. The full-length vinyl of this is available on TKO Records, and I believe the ANTiSEEN Big Cartel stores got some. The CD is available from Jackhammer Records. Pretty sure the ANTiSEEN Big Cartel stores got it. I've got some. Check it out. They're factory sealed. Get it from somebody. This is a damn good record. I am thrilled and honored to be a part of this release. And by the way, there's going to be plenty more coming up from ANTiSEEN in 2024. You can drink to that, brothers and sisters. What else happened in 2023? Am I done yet? Nope, not done yet. Another record that I'm extremely chuffed to be a part of. 7-inch EP by the Bloody Apostles. Yes, Bloody Apostles. This is myself, P.P. Duvet, formerly of the Murder Junkies, Paul Ledney of Profanatica, and Mr. Brian Zickafoos doing some extremely pissed off, enraged punk rock. 6 songs on a 7-inch EP. Did we take any prisoners? No, we did not. And Hell's Headbangers is a world-class label. And this came out in 2023 as well. Same deal. Hell's Headbangers has them. I have them. I don't have too many, but if you want to get one off of me direct, please do. And I'll mention, too, that I'm happy to sign this if you order it directly from me. I'm happy to sign this if you get it directly from me. I'm happy to sign this if you get it directly from me. I'm happy to sign this if you get it directly from me. I say that because I myself am an autograph hound. I always get stuff signed if I have a chance to. And just the very fact that I'm able to reciprocate, and the fact that anybody would even want me to reciprocate, is definitely major in my book. So yes, I'm happy to sign anything that I play on, or even if I released it, I'll sign it as the Grand Poobah of TPOS. If that's what you want, I'll do it. I love getting stuff signed, so I'm happy to sign in return. Also out in 2023. Busy year over here. The CD version of one of the best-selling releases I have on TPOS. The LP version of this album by singer-songwriter Charles Manson has been out for about 10 years now. This is another... I didn't do all the graphic design on this one because I didn't know how to at the time, but the elements were something I put together. And other people actually assembled it for me. Gratitude to them for doing that. So I was triply happy when, using my newfound skill set, I was able to actually basically design this from scratch. Once again, I had some help. Thank you, Walker Cadillac, for doing some of the graphics grunt work on this. But I was able to assemble this from the ground up using a template. And I am absolutely thrilled with the way it came out. I think it looks beautiful. It's got a real sort of antique desert motif to it. It's got the various quotations from the chairman. And it's just professionally printed, professionally manufactured. Everything about it just came out great. It's visually appealing. It's got a great visual appeal to it. And getting to release stuff like this on my label never ceases to be a thrill, and I always enjoy it. Always enjoy it. So, once again, whether you like the guy, dislike the guy, nothing can change that he's an important cultural force. One way or another. There's no denying it. And music resulted from it. This is fascinating stuff. And it's on TPOS. What else came out on TPOS in 2023? Tiny Tim. Tiny Tim. I grew up with Tiny Tim. I watched Tiny Tim on TV when I was a wee lad. Always knew about Tiny Tim. And now, once again, if ye seek, ye shall find. And I was able to get the rights and permissions to do a vinyl pressing of Tiny Tim's self-described greatest album ever. Prisoner of Love, a tribute to Russ Columbo. This is, TPOS number 239, which came out in 2023. And this one, I don't know if you can actually see it, but this is the Cheap Suit gray vinyl pressing. We also have Tulip Red and Hit Record Gold vinyl. God, TPOS, Tiny Tim on my label? Gosh dang. Honored, thrilled, chilled and spilled. We got more coming up from Tiny Tim on TPOS. We got more. Think about that. You know what else we got coming up in 2024? I'm going to tell you. We got live shows from ANTiSEEN coming up. We've already got April 4th confirmed for Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And you know there's going to be other shows somewhere in the vicinity right around that. So keep your calendars open. Think April 4th, April 3rd, April 5th. Don't have the other dates booked yet. We don't know, but April 4th for sure. More ANTiSEEN gigging. More ANTiSEEN releases. That's coming up in 2024. What else is coming up in 2024? Well, I know this is happening for a fact because in conjunction with my pals Real Records in England, we've got a brand new LP by my good pal Tim Holhouse. Tim is from England. Tim is the living embodiment of what a troubadour is. Tim has been around the world umpteen times with his guitar. He has played just about everywhere there is to play. He has played with just about everybody there is to play with. He's a good dude. I'm a fan. I have been honored to tour many times with him. And coming out on January 1st of this year, his brand new full-length studio album called Year. Features, how many? 12 brand new songs. It is on LP. The LP was pressed in good old England. Beautiful full color cover. Beautiful. Kind of sort of greenish vinyl. It's got that awesome Tim Holhouse logo on the label. Right side up. And I am dead chuffed to be able to present my man Tim on vinyl and CD here in the US of A. I'm handling all the US distribution of Tim's brand new record. And it is launching on January 1st. And this guy is great. I love him. I love his music. He is on Discogs. He's on Bandcamp. Go check out his Bandcamp. Tim Holhouse. That's his name. His Bandcamp is huge. He's got tons of stuff out. And this is his latest. So that's coming up in just a few days. This is the first release for 2024 on TPOS number 236. TPOS number 236. Brand new for 2024 at the stroke of midnight on January 1st. And this might be a little bit premature. Oh, I should also say for 2023, I wrote a really good article for Outsider Fanzine. If you want one, order something from me and I will throw this in. It's about the time I videotaped Nirvana before they were famous. This also happened in 2023. So much going on in 2023. And I think I'm going to stop talking now because my larynx is tired. I got a sore throat from all the yipping and yapping and yammering I've done for the last hour or so. And this cat, as always, has slept through it all. But that's what he does. And this is what I do. So thanks, guys. Thanks for tuning in and listening to this, I thought, pretty exciting 2023 recap. It's pretty cool to actually gather everything up together in one spot and see it all like this. It really makes me very aware of how busy I am all the time. Oh my God. So it's because of you guys I'm able to do it. All because of you and your support and your love for good music and your love for the weird and the outside and the stimulating and the provocative. It's because you've got the good taste and you know what you like and you're willing to jump on board. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Vaughn's got a couple of comments about a Manson release. Ryan, I don't know who Ryan is. Vaughn, you got to clue me in about Ryan. let's talk about that. Vaughn, send me a message and give a brother a clue, because I don't know. I don't know. You got to hit me. 2024 beckons. In my opinion, 2023 was pretty damn good. I'm looking forward to an even better 24 with a lot of excitement, a lot of creativity, a lot of music, a lot of gigging, a lot of touring. I'm just like Andrea True. I want more, more, more. And with you guys, there will be more, more, more. So thank you as always for tuning in. Hope you guys have a fantastic new year. I expect to be back in about 167 hours time. And so as always, my friends, I must say that until we meet again, this is Malcolm Tent saying so long from the Nutmeg State.